Stop the cap.
Let me say this after watching Dr. T. Hassan Johnson's recent video. I'll put the link in the description box. I posted it on my community tab. I forget what the title of it is. You'll see it in the description box. Just click the link. But he was talking. Dr. T. Hassan Johnson did a video of a teacher that was interviewing a seventh grade boy, and this is just one of the boys that he interviewed. I hope he continues to do more interviews. I have experienced the same thing with young black boys. Okay, they do not know what their purpose and what their role is in the community. Like he said, if you ain't an athlete or you ain't, in the streets or a street dude, which is what gets all the respect in the black community, they don't really know what their role is supposed to be or what they're supposed to do. Um, and the majority of these boys, were raised in single mothered homes. And let me say this right before I even start. I feel vindicated. Okay. It's not that Captain Solo disagrees with me, but we do have many points of contention on this front. We have points of contention when it comes to, that the women can't do it. The women can't fix the problem. Men are going to have to fix the problem. Obviously, the boys need to be mentored. Then we have the problem of men, who are in the position to mentor feeling some type of way because they're being asked to instill qualities in the male child that these women were not looking for in the biological father. And if they were looking for those qualities in a biological father, then you would end up with a community where these men would be the men that are being asked to be mentors would be the biological fathers of the boys that need help, and therefore they wouldn't need help. This goes back to Rich Cooper's statement about alpha male seeds, beta male needs, which means that the women, they're fucking who they're attracted to and who they physically desire based off of superficiality and other bullshit that has nothing to do with building and maintaining a community. Now, I'm not saying that the women should go out here and get with Steve Urkel. I just think that there needs to be more of a balance in terms of what women are looking for when they're thinking about, marriage and actually having a family, and not just going for, 100%, a swag, and game and charisma and everything, right? But there's arguments to be made about that because the community is broken, right? So, in a hostile environment where there's crime and drug dealers and prostitution and all other type of shit going on in the black community, broken homes, no gainful employment, like that's what women are going to go for, in that environment. Then you got the theme music, it's promoted, all that stuff. They're going to grow up finding that to be appealing because it's whatever, it's around them, it's what they see, it's what's promoted. And then when it comes to the stuff that maintains the community, you know, that all that starts with men being gainfully employed. If the men aren't gainfully employed, the men that are not in the streets and not dripping in swag juice, then they really look like some suckers because a lot of times they don't have the personality, they don't have the charisma. And then on top of that, you throw in that they're not gainfully employed, so they don't have the money. Like the street dudes that are out there, selling, keys of coke and weed and all this other shit, they're going to be running circles around those dudes. You know what I mean? Like you can't even sell the idea on so-called black men doing the right thing if they're all broke. You can't even sell that, right? You can't sell that to the boys, and you damn sure can't sell it to the women. Even though the women have their bullshit going on where they think that whether a dude is legitimate or illegitimate, whether his money is legitimate or illegitimate, that they're going to be in charge of his finances and his resources and run shit, as matriarchs. So the reason I feel vindicated, when it came to this interview, basically the boy in the interview, I mean, it might as well have been that PBS special 1986 interview where the girls, sat there right at the beginning of the interview and said she didn't feel that black men were substantial to the family. And basically that's precisely how this boy answered the question. And I've had these arguments with Captain Solo about this because, again, like he didn't have a childhood. He went immediately into adulthood because, all the trauma and shit that he went through, as a child and whatnot, right? So he can't comprehend like where the disconnect is, So, with this young man, they asked him, or the teacher asked him, if you took all the single mothers and you put them in a state, and then you took all the two parent homes and you put them in a state, which state do you think would do better? And the boy said the single mother state, right? And he said the boys and the girls, they both said this, that the single mothers, would do better. Now, 90% of these children, right? They knew their father, they interacted with their father, but the parents weren't together. So I don't know exactly what that dynamic is. I guess we could assume it's, the mom has primary custody and the children, live with the mother, and the father is just kind of like pops in and out, from time to time. So they know who their father is. They know, that he's there, but it's not a patriarchal setup. It's not a patriarchal household. In that household, it is a matriarchy. I made a joke to Captain Solo about it. I'm like, it's like that, the episode Naked and Alone. You ever see Naked and Alone? Where the women almost, I think pretty much they always lose whenever they have the gender war Naked and Alone. I don't know how many times exactly, they've done it. I just keep seeing the clips pop up on YouTube. But they did a Naked and Alone episode, and they had, the women on one team and the men on the other team, and they had a bunch of feminists. All the women were talking some dumb shit. They were talking all type of shit. And the men, they basically, organized, were like, okay, this is your role, da 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 da. And the next thing you know, men over there snoring, catching fish, bellies full, got the bonfire going, everything else. The women, they huddled over in the rain, fighting and all this other type of shit. And then eventually a bunch of women went over to the men's side and, decided that, they were like, oh, please save us. Right. And the men were like looking at them like, mm-hmm. So, if you ask these children, hold on a second. So if you ask these children and you said to them, who would you rather stay with? Like at this point, like this seventh grader, right? Which means he's 12 years old. If you asked him, if he wanted to live in the two parent community or the single mother community, he would probably say the single mother community. He would probably say that. Or if there was a Naked and Alone episode, he'd probably say, I want to stay with the women's encampment and not the men's encampment, right? Again, this is the whole problem with being out of practice and young men not seeing you visible in the community. They don't see your role, so therefore they don't even know that that's their role. They don't even recognize that they're supposed to, participate in it. And Dr. T. Hasan Johnson brought up a perfect example where he compared the doll test. I don't know if y'all seen the doll test, but there's a doll test. It was a more recent one where they do the whole, they got a white doll and they got a black doll, and the children are probably like kindergarten, first grade, something like that. And they ask the children which doll is the good doll, which doll is the bad doll, and they say, all the positive attributes go to the white doll, all the negative attributes go to the black doll, right? So already, right, at 4 and 5 years old, these children have picked up from society that black is bad and white is good, right? And the little black girl, when they asked her, they were like, okay, which doll's the good doll? She says the white doll. Which doll's the pretty doll? She says the white doll. And then when they ask her, which doll looks most like you, she hesitated. Because it was at that moment she realized, oh, well, damn, I done associate all the negative attributes with the black doll, and I know I'm not the white doll. I look like the black doll. Oh, shit. And see, this is what happens, to black boys that co-sign all this matriarchal stuff when they finally transition into manhood. You're not going to be a boy forever. Eventually, you're going to have to transition into manhood, and it's how the world perceives you. You think you're somehow separate. You're a different entity, right? You're underneath your mother's wing and all that. But eventually you'll go out into the world and the world is going to perceive you as a black man, and all the negative, all the useless attributes that he assigned, to black men, all the, they're unnecessary. He didn't say anything particularly negative, but it's this idea that they're unnecessary. And this is the whole problem with the artificial environment, that is the government coming in and, helping sustain women, and what the feminists ultimately want. They want resources for the government, devoid of interactions with men, where women don't have to negotiate their survival with men. So at that point, men become useless, and a boy growing up in that environment is going to think that men are useless to the situation. It makes sense if your mother is getting assistance or help, or it looks like, she's holding it down, or you don't see the money that's being forcibly extracted from the father and transferred over to her. Not saying that it shouldn't be, right? If like you got kids, motherfucker, you got to take care of them. But I'm saying they're not seeing all of that. They're just seeing, oh, my mom, she's strong and she holding it down, and I don't see why you need two-parent homes. And then we wonder why, when we get into the marriage conversation, you got a lot of black people who have, negative perceptions of marriage, right? And then you got the folks that they say, yeah, that's what we should be doing. That's an ideal situation. But if we do or we don't, it doesn't matter, right? That's the attitude. But what was I gonna say? There's something else I was gonna say about the whole thing about the boys and them, knowing what their role is. Oh, and this is where Captain Solo and I, we get into, at least in the past, we've gotten into big arguments about this. About obviously the women can't teach the boys what needs to be taught. They cannot do it. They're women. It is what it is. There's so many dynamics that go on, interactions of men between men, interactions of men with other groups. The constant threat of violence. You know what I mean? Like men already know. You're not going to see any videos of some situation where a man gets hit with a brick, like this fake situation with the Somali girl. You know what I mean? And there's going to be a whole bunch of crying and whining about that shit. Like you got hit with a brick because obviously there was some sort of disagreement. And there is no protection for men. There is no like, oh my God, he hit me with a brick. Oh my God, where's my protection? Like there is none of that. You got to handle the situation yourself or avoid it altogether. I mean, this goes into the whole thing where men size each other up. When men see another big ass dude, hell, it's the reason why women like big ass dudes. When they see a big ass dude, they're like, nah, that motherfucker look like he can, do some damage. Nah, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like there's all type of skits online. Like men recognize, hey, that dude got 100 pounds on me. Like, no, that again, that's why there's weight classes, all that sort of stuff. So there's a ranking system, an unspoken ranking system that even men do. They do it with money. They do it with numbers. Like, if he's a part of a crew and you're by yourself, you know what I mean? Like, or if you out there with nothing but your ass and you ain't got no protection, and you gotta weigh all that type of stuff out. There's a skit where a brother he's walking with his girlfriend and she's just like singing in her head. And then he's like looking around, like, okay, the exit's over there. And this person, he looks funny. We better stay away from him, as they're walking, holding hands. And she's just like, no, 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 no. She's just like, in a dream world. Now, I'm not saying all women are in a dream world, but I'm just saying men constantly have to think and operate like that because nobody's coming to our rescue. There's nobody to shame. There's nobody to call upon. You didn't protect me. Like there's none of that. It's just, you got your ass beat, and that speaks to your weakness. These sorts of things that women cannot teach. Okay. And then, the problem that I have, and I agree 100% with the what Captain Solo says about the mentoring and all that other stuff. It does have to happen because women cannot correct this problem if the correction of the problem is something that people want to, discuss and move in that direction. Men are going to have to get over she fucked the other guy. They're going to have to get over that. Even I have my reservations about that because, it's like, I don't want to be up there reinforcing bad behavior. You know what I'm saying? Where the women are like, because black women, they look at this shit like, yeah, and that's what you supposed to be doing. Like, I didn't create this situation, chick. How dare you? You know what I mean? Like they come off like you owe them some shit. Like even if you're not the dude that did it, they put black men in this like this big like this monolithic box where we're all the same and we owe them, at some sort of collective level, right? And so they come off like that. They don't learn from you stepping in. They still think, in a matriarchal mindset. And I got a major problem with that. Cap's like, nah, get in there, train the boys, teach them to be patriarchs, tell them what their role is, and then he's like kind of like hopes that, with that many men that are not on the bullshit and handling business, the next generation of women will grow up seeing those men, and then basically a lot of these issues will go away. I greatly disagree with that scenario for one main reason. And the main reason I disagree with that scenario is because I know if the black community is matriarchal, let's just say, because usually the women are not going to stop you when the boy gets around 13, 14 years old. She's too strong to be disciplined. She can't handle him. He's grabbing the belt. You know what I mean? Like, ha, I have the power. She's like, you better look with it. When black women like yell at you through their grit teeth, you better look, boy, you better let go of that belt. You better let go of that belt, right? When they start doing that, right? And you start realizing like, oh, you're not stronger than me, right? And that's when the dad's supposed to come in and be like, damn, okay, I'm 14, I'm stronger than mom, but I ain't stronger than you, right? So that maintains the discipline, throughout adolescence. But a lot of that shit changes when the boy gets to about 13, 14 years old. He's stronger than his mom is. So where's I going with this? I'm losing my train of thought. Um, um, what was I saying about the transition into from an adolescence into adulthood? Oh, Captain Solo and his whole idea of training. If you have a community where the black women like they just think, yeah, you need to come in and mentor these boys and everything, right? First issue is they want us to teach the boys responsibility devoid of leadership, devoid of black male leadership. So when we go in there, they think, oh, we training the boys to basically serve the matriarchy. Now, Captain Solo doesn't care about what the women think. He's just like, give me the boys. Give me the boys. Let me have access to the boys. He doesn't give a shit. Okay. I look further down the road because I know that if you train boys while their households and the women, that are mothers and their peers are being, trained in the art of matriarchy, okay, his sisters, all that stuff, you're going to end up with a situation where this black boy really sees no value in the black community because there's nowhere for him to fit in that situation. Okay, give him all the military hardcore about his business, handling his business training in the world. You can have a whole football team of young black men operating on that. They're going to butt heads with the matriarchal teachings that the girls are being taught when, they transition into adulthood somewhere around college and shortly thereafter. Okay. And it's still going to be, a damn gender war. And as I've already said, there is no place for a black matriarchal woman to go to because the whole rest of the world operates on patriarchy. There is or are, and we see it because that's what black women complain about. Yes, there's racism in the world. Yes, there's colorism in the world. Yes, there's anti-blackness in the world. But we all know that black men are far more capable of interracially dating and interracially marrying than black women. And what you're going to see is you're going to see those black men that have their shit together. Because let's face it, a primary deterrent for other races of women dealing with black men is the fact that black men do not have their finances, in order, right? A lot of us do not. And so as a result, if you fix that problem, that would open up the door to a lot more women being interested in financially and economically viable black men. This is one of black women's greatest fears, which is why not only do they want you to subscribe to the matriarchy, but they want you to keep, maintain your dustiness, because if you didn't maintain your dustiness, all that, whatever little bit of swag and charisma or whatever little bit of game, you know what I mean? Because even brothers have already said this, the requirement for swag and charisma over the fence is not as high as it is in the black community with black women. So then you throw finances and stability and all that shit on top of that, and then you throw in the treatment, that these men are going to be getting from other races of women who were raised in patriarchy, and then those men have patriarchal orientation. They're not going to deal with sisters. So the goal of having, this intact black community, all we got to do is get the boys' minds right, and we can just ignore the girls, and then we think that we're going to somehow strong arm the girls into being patriarchal women just simply by sheer numbers when they go out here and they see black boys handling responsibility, and they're just going to recognize and be comfortable with the idea. No, you got to challenge those matriarchal teachings. You got to have a group of women that are in support of that. We should not be at odds with one another when it comes to, what the gender roles and the power dynamics should be in the black community. But we are. You go out here and you give these boys all the manhood training programs that you want. They're not going to pick sisters. They're not. Then you throw in the colorism, you throw in the promotion of other races of women on TV, you throw in the femininity of other races of women, right? And the fact that they played a patriarchal role and whatnot, and then you throw in the fact that a lot of sisters, again, in that matriarchal mindset, a lot of them don't feel like they have to do anything, in order to attract a man. So here you got the fucking Latina or the white girl, she dolling herself up, wearing the tight dress with the open toe shoes, face full of makeup. She looking sexy. And here you got the sister running around, no makeup, frumpy outfits, sitting there with her arms folded, like, I don't know why he don't want to get with me. She ain't trying to get it right. She ain't trying to get it tight, because all of that is a part of the matriarchal mindset. The matriarchal mindset says, I'm good enough. The matriarchal mindset says, yes, queen, yes, bitch, slay, bitch. You are the prize. You are the prize. And these women haven't done anything to appeal to the male libido. They haven't. The only thing that you currently have is, again, like one woman, she said in my comment section, are black women, like, what did she say? Black women catering to the libido of black men in street culture, but getting their cues of what it is to be a feminine black woman from trans women. And I was like, whoa, that's a new one for me. But talking about, like, everything from and even Cap, he pointed out that a lot of the makeup that you see is like, it's like theatrical makeup. Like, even the stuff with these Betty Boop eyelashes, these snuffleupagus eyelashes, that's for theater. That's for theater, for plays and shit like that. And you'll see a lot of the drag queens, they do that. The over exaggerated eyelashes and everything. And you got a lot of black women getting their cues, from that shit. And it's not what a lot of black men are looking for, especially black men that would be in those, professional places. And there's an argument to be had about what is professional. Can black people bring their natural hairstyles into a professional place? Are black men looking at natural hair as unprofessional, like all that stuff, and it's defined by white people? That's a whole nother conversation that we can have about what we're keeping and versus what we're throwing out. I'm not here to argue that. But what I'm saying is, that a lot of the women of the matriarchal mindset, you're either going to get, chicks out here looking like Sukihana, okay, where it's just too much. It's like, bitch, you doing way too much, lace fronts with the baby hairs laid down and the snuffleupagus eyelashes, or you get the homely bitches. The homely bitches that are running around talking about they're overweight, they don't go to the gym, they don't wear makeup, they talking about, I got a degree and shit like that. And the bitches don't look like shit. They do not look like shit at all. And then you got the other women from other communities, patriarchal shit, where, they doll themselves up and they do cater to a man's libido. So, like, what I'm saying is, I'm like, if you don't, if we don't culturally see eye to eye, because I've said this since day one, I've said this since I came online, that I felt that black men and black women have two different cultures. Okay, the black matriarchy, that's one culture, and there are many black men, as you can see with this seventh grader, this 12-year-old boy in the Dr. T. Hasan Johnson's video. He was raised in matriarchal culture. And then the counterculture to that would be patriarchy, which is what the rest of the freaking world is on, right? But we have all these delusional conversations about what women think they can do and all this other stuff, and there's even this, even within, like, you even see this in the white community and just the West in general, which is this idea that women are now the cerebral class, going back to what Priyanka Chopra said. What I mean? We want cerebral opportunities. I'm like, the fuck is that supposed to mean? So let me get this right. So women are the cerebral class, and then men are what? There's only a handful of elite men in the cerebral class, and then all the rest of them are like worker bees and whatnot. I mean, I think the reality is the fact that men are all throughout the occupational hierarchy. Everything from your janitors to your HVAC guys to your police officers to folks in the military to private contractors to carpenters to garbage men to to all the way up to CEO, lawyer, judge, all that stuff. And when it comes to women, women are only seen in that cerebral class, with the whole women are educated and women can do more, but it's like, a couple of things have happened where, again, there were women that would work in blue collar jobs if they paid well. But now think about it. Those jobs don't pay well. So there's no incentive for men or women to enter, those spaces. And then you have the situation where, the idea is that women, because they're the weaker sex, all they can do is white collar work, right? Where you still need men to do blue collar work, right? You got a mix of men doing blue collar work and white collar work. But we now live in a society where it's like women only do white collar work. And then you have this whole thing where the white collar work apparently pays more than the blue collar work. So then you have this like class elitism where the women see themselves as an elite intellectual class. And then you end up with the scenario where pretty much the vast majority of men that are not in that class, they see as beneath them. So it becomes a intellectual fight, and the sexual markets, they've never been that. Now some would say, well, basically everything that was created before, just like the white middle class and Levitt towns and shit, was artificially created by the government. You know what I mean? That the dynamics between men and women, the gender wars and whatnot, it's being seriously challenged because of advents in technology and AI, and the fact that the industries have changed and jobs have gone overseas, and they've and shit is being made in China. So now the work that would have been done by men in America is now being done abroad and overseas, and the only thing that's left is basically white collar work, or so people think. I mean, it's the dumbest shit in the world, because as you can see, America has a crumbling infrastructure. Okay. But, the problem is that, again, I personally, the feminists can jump up and down, piss shit and fart, roast me all they want. You know what I mean? I don't see the benefit of women being in the breadwinners and being in these sort of positions over men, because if you go past the critical mass, then you just end up, because women are hypergamous, they're not willing to date down. You know what I mean? And then women will say, well, men need to man up. If the man mans up, then that only activates more feminism, right? Because the whole reason why feminism came into play, because there were too many men at the top. Okay, then you got women at the top and men are in decline, right? And so now you got a whole bunch of women that are at the top but not willing to date down. So the scenario does, like, in other words, there's like this I like, how do I put this? I could be a male feminist from the standpoint of, if we were just talking about academics and intellectual shit. Can a woman be a mathematician just as much as a man? Yes. You'll never see me fucking, object to that. You'll never see me object to that. However, when it comes to the gender dynamic, I already know that women don't want to date down. They always want to date men that they perceive to be better than them. That is the hard wiring of women. And fighting for these intellectual this intellectual fight for feminism, from a purely intellectual standpoint. Yes, it is moral and it is just and it is righteous and it is all that shit. The fucking problem is women's goddamn nature. And every time you bring it up and you say, oh, what is the solution to this? Women will say men need to man up. Well, isn't that the reason why you had feminism in the first place? Because men were manning up, and there were too many men in positions of power, and then you got frustrated because you didn't have any say, right? That's what the feminism was all about. So how can that correct the problem when, as soon as the men get to whatever level you want them to be at, one day you're going to wake up and you're going to look around and you're going to be like, there's too much patriarchy here. Women are oppressed, right? Then you fight for that. Then you get that. Then once the men start falling off, and now you're equal to the men or above the men, then you start bitching. There's nobody on my level. There's nobody for me to date. That's why I'm single. My eggs are about to dry up. Where are the real men? You're gonna be up there bitching like Tommy Loren. So it's like, how do you want to do this? And the thing is like, in my opinion, Western women are going to lose. They're going to lose because, yes, there's a conversation, to be had about men manning up and not just falling, to the wayside. But I'm saying, the minute the men, at the whatever collective level, as American men, the minute that they freaking, wake up, which arguably they're waking up now, and looking at the landscape for what it is, all they're going to do is choose women from around the globe that aren't on that shit. You know what I mean? Whether it's a, and sometimes you don't even have to leave the country for that shit. You come across a women, how long you been in America? Oh, 5 years. My English not so good. You know what I mean? Motherfuckers be like, hey, let's go. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, the amount of men out here that people don't even know, like celebrities that married, over the fence. You know what I mean? Like Matt Damon and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like these dudes' wives, you don't even see. You don't even see these bitches. You know what I'm saying? Because these men want to keep their private life private. Okay, they're over there being happy, raising a family. They keep that shit. They keep that shit protected. But we just got this war going on. With our women. This shit is retarded. And what they want is they literally want to have their cake and eat it too. And it just doesn't work that way. There's always, some sort of compromise. There's always, again, if you have money, you don't have time. If you have time, you don't have money. You know what I mean? If a dude has, a whole bunch of game and a whole bunch of swag, chances are he's not the most faithful dude in the world. Why? Because he got to those peak levels of game and swag and everything else because he has a lot of practice at talking to other women. You know what I mean? Like so, it's always, some sort of, give and take. You know, it's always amazing. Remember when, Kat was talking to, some woman about, her son, and she was like, talking about, him, something about him and getting girls and everything and whatnot. And he was like, okay, and to see if he was packing or something like that. He was like, okay, and which one of these girls out here are going to get ready to see if this boy is packing? You know what I mean? Is it going to be your daughter? Is it going to be your daughter? Which one of them are going to get ready to see if he's back? Like a lot of people, they don't even think about what they're saying. Oh, man's got to be this. Oh, he better know how to put it he better know how to put it down in the bedroom. And then the conversation will be about, who's a God-fearing Christian, who's a man of God, or I want a man that's faithful. How is he going to know how to put it down in the bed if he doesn't have an experience fucking a whole bunch of women? You know what I mean? And then you get into the whole, I only want him to have eyes for me, even though, he has options because he has all the charisma and game and swag and everything else that women are looking for. So people, they ask for, they want the ultimate. I get it. It's just like me. Like me, I love a bad bitch. I love a bad bitch, fat ass, everything else. You know what I mean? But again, it's like you should be secure in your own person. If she gonna leave, she gonna leave. I want the woman to look like, sexy as fuck for me. You know what I'm saying? And I accept the fact that dudes are going to try her. They're going to try to holler at her. She's going to get attention everywhere she goes. That's fine for me. But other dudes, they sit there, they want, like, it's like you'll get dudes here, here's the male perspective. Oh man, I want a bad bitch. She gotta be a 10, but can you handle a 10? Can you handle a woman that's going to be getting that type of attention where everybody's going to be running around trying to holler at her? You know what I mean? I got a man. What your man got to do with me? You know what I mean? I got a man. I'm not trying to hear that, see? Right? Like, can you handle that? Can you handle dudes trying to get at her constantly? She can't even go to the damn grocery store without dudes stopping their car, beeping their horn. You know what I mean? Like that stupid prank skit that the dude that does on YouTube. I think half that shit is fake. But where he walks around and guys walking with a couple, and then he's like, God damn, that ass is fat. You know what I mean? And then the guy, the boyfriend feels like, he's his pride is being attacked, and because you insulted my woman, now I must do something. You know what I mean? All that shit. That's that I'm Tyrone and I'm here to fuck somebody's wife. That's that type of shit. And I'm saying, you know what I mean? This is another thing about, again, how men size each other up. You know what I mean? You gotta have a strong masculine presence. You know what I mean? It's like a dude should look at you and be like, yeah, that's not the dude I'm going to try. Oh, he walking with his girl? Nah, I ain't going to say nothing. I ain't going to try him because he looks like the type that'll respond, and he's bigger than me or stronger than me or whatever it may be. You know what I mean? More intimidating, and they just like, nah, I don't want any parts of that. And that's another reason why women go for these men that have a strong masculine presence. One thing I will agree, with the women on, when it comes to these men, and being square and all that other stuff, you all need to get in the gym and have a strong masculine presence. It's like on a side note, it's like electric cars, right? Remember like electric cars, like when they used to present them in like the late 90s, early 2000s. I was always like, why does an electric car have to look like an electric car? Like, why you gotta look like you go 0 miles an hour? Like, why do you gotta look like you barely move? Right? Why can't you look fat? Why can't they make a electric car look like a Dodge Viper? Like, why don't you create some shit like that? Why do you always gotta look like some frumpy ass, looking like a damn, what's that damn car? Looking like the old Prius. Why do all I get high? I get save on gas. I get 51 miles to the gallon. Like, why do you have to look like you get 51 miles to the gallon? Why can't you look like you're fast, right? And the same thing applies to the EL situation. It's like, why do you gotta look like you won the spelling bee? Like, why do you have to look like that? Do you have to look that way? Like, can you like look a different way? It's just like this dude. I forget who he is. Who's this guy that fucking? He's like a big muscular black guy that like raps, kind of sort of thing. Like now he does like that. Now it's not even sing rap. It's like the fucking Evanescence type of singing. That whole like that like white boy like Green Day type of like I don't even know. I can't even think of like a song that he sings. But when white guys have this type of voice when they sing, that type of shit. That's what the motherfucker sounds like. Big ass black dude, muscles and everything else. He doing backflips on stage and shit. Who the fuck is this dude? I don't know who this dude is. I don't follow the shit. But the white people, they going crazy. They're like, ah! You know what I mean? But his face doesn't match his voice. You know what I'm saying? I'll tell you who else shit doesn't match. OZ Sparks. You know what I'm saying? I prefer him back in the day. He's a little Philly rapper. He's older now. Like he's in his 20s now. But I remember when he was like 15 and he was like he was that was the song where he was like riding around Philly with like 30 in my strap, right? He did that little like I don't even know what that song was. The fucking damn, what was the name of that song? I'm going blank. But anyway, just look up OZ Sparks. When he was like 15. It's like he was rapping though. He was spitting back then. He don't spit no more. Now he's doing what's popular. He's doing like all this like fucking rap singing like shit that is in with the zillennials, and that's what he's doing. But his voice don't match the face, or don't match the his whole ensemble that he's got going on. Shit don't match, And I'm saying, I just don't know why. You gotta look the part. You gotta look like a geek. You gotta look like a nerd. You gotta look like you get no bitches. You gotta, look like you have no aggression about you. I don't know why. But then again, it might just be the overcompensating, right? Because, if you're studying all the time and you're grinding all the time and you don't, you know what? I call bullshit on that. I'll call bullshit on that. Because y'all be into some other shit too. You'll sit there and, yeah, I was studying, and then you go off and then, you playing video games for hours and shit like that, when you could take an hour of that and you could be in the gym and be a little bit more well-rounded. I don't understand this whole thing in this world right now. Let me just say this, just add into this, where everybody, like when you're making a character in some game, y'all literally take all your attribute points and you put it in one column and max it out. I don't understand that. Like will you just move it in one column? Like, no, spread that shit out. You're gonna need some power, you're gonna need some stamina, you're gonna need some speed. You know what I'm saying? Like y'all be like, yeah, my character is I'm maxing that shit out to where you got, like, it's just like in Division 2. People be running around with all these red builds, and I'm like, but you got no survivability, dog. Or they running around with these blue builds, all blue, and I'm like, but you can't do any damage. Like, you gotta blend that out. You know what I'm saying? Get you a memento backpack or something. You know what I mean? Get something that's gonna add to some type of damage. Put obliterate on that chest piece, my nigga. Like, something get that critical hit damage up, But anyway, I'm being corny. But that's all I got to say about the whole thing. I just think that if we don't see eye to eye, even if the boys get it right and they get they go to Captain Solo's school of Jedi mastery. You know what I mean? When they get out, like, they're not going to go out here and link up with uncooperative women. They're not going to choose black women who were raised in the culture of matriarchy. They're not. So anyway, that's all I got to say. That's my video. SWP out. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe.